For the high kneeling hip flexor stretch, begin in a high kneeling position and bring one leg out in front of the other so the front leg is bent about 90 degrees. Before you begin, try to eliminate any excessive arch in the lower back by contracting your glutes and putting the hip flexor in a stretch position. Holding that pelvic position, you're next going to lean in and increase the stretch on the front of the hip and the thigh of the back leg. The final piece is to lift the arm up overhead and bring the lat and all of the muscles on the side of the torso into the stretch. Once you've statically stretched your hip flexors, get a little more dynamic with a drill called Spider-Man's. Begin in a push-up position and bring one leg around until it's just about next to the hand. Making sure the entire foot is in contact with the ground, drop your hips in by bending the back leg. You'll feel a stretch on the hip flexor of the back leg as well as the groin of the front leg. Continue by dropping the forearm in on the same side to increase the stretch. Next up, we're going to stretch the groin with the butterfly stretch. With your legs positioned straight out in front of you, begin by bringing the soles of your feet together and sitting up straight and tall as you grab a hold of your feet and push your knees down towards the ground to stretch deep into the groin. Once you've loosened the groin up, immediately go right into a lateral squat with instep touch. Here you're going to set your feet up about twice shoulders width apart, making sure that your feet point straight ahead and are in complete contact with the ground. Begin by driving your hips back as you keep the leg you're moving away from straight and a nice flat back while you reach down and touch the instep on the opposite foot. This is a great way to get a really nice dynamic stretch into those inner thigh muscles, and it's excellent before any type of speed and agility training or lacrosse practice. Next up, we've got a pike calf stretch. For this one, begin in a push-up position and press your hips up towards the ceiling, keeping both legs as straight as possible. Next, you're going to take one foot and place it on the Achilles tendon of the other as you attempt to press the heel of the support leg down towards the ground. After holding for 20 to 30 seconds, make sure to switch and repeat to the opposite side. Once you've loosened your calves up a bit, you can try the stick ankle mobility drill. Here you're back into the high kneeling position, and you're going to take your lacrosse stick and place it just outside the pinky toe. You're then going to drop the stick so that it comes across the front of the knee, and then you're going to keep your entire foot on the ground as you drive your hips forward. Again, it's very important to make sure that you keep that front heel down on the ground so that you can help mobilize the ankle and effectively dynamically stretch the calf. Moving into the upper body, here we have the stick pec stretch. Now here, you're going to cap the bottom of your lacrosse stick with one hand as you use the opposite arm to bring you up into a nice diagonal stretch for the pecs. After stretching both sides, get down on the ground for a drill called open books. Here you're going to lie on one side with your knees bent 90 degrees. With your thumb positioned down near your top knee, you're going to open up as you bring your opposite arm across the body and try to get the entire back of the arm and shoulder down onto the ground. Kicking off our strengthening drills, we have a basic hip bridge. For these, begin by lying on the ground and bending your knees about 90 degrees. Next, gently lift the balls of your feet off the ground so you can really focus on driving through the heels. And brace your core as you lift your hips up into the air until your body forms a diagonal line from your shoulders down to your knees. Here you'll be working on strengthening your glutes and your hamstrings as well as your core muscles and really working towards improving the posterior chain strength. Next, we have a drill called clamshells. These are a great way to strengthen the lateral glutes, which can help lead to better knee tracking. Begin by lying on your side with your hips and shoulders stacked directly over each other, your knees bent about 90 degrees, and your feet touching. Start the drill by lifting the top leg using the muscles of your outer thigh to separate the knees as much as possible without allowing the hips to slide backward. Make sure you hold at the top for a split second and lower the leg back down under control. Make sure to work both sides. Our next drill is the very challenging one-legged Romanian deadlift, another great drill for building posterior chain strength. Begin by standing and balancing on one leg. Keep that knee soft as you execute a hip hinge where you bend over at the waist, using the back leg to drive the movement. You're shooting for a position where your body is parallel to the ground with both shoulders and hips squared towards the ground. Now, if it's difficult for you initially to get that far over, what you can do is position yourself near a wall or other object that will allow you to regulate the range of motion a bit. Here, as you can see, I'm stopping the movement a little short once my hands hit the weight stack, which is allowing me to still keep my torso squared and execute the drill with proper form. Once you get a little better at it, you can start positioning yourself further and further away from the wall. Again, the most important aspect of this drill, in addition to the hip hinge, is making sure that the torso and hips stay squared to the ground. Our first upper body strengthening exercise is the TRX row. Using a TRX suspension trainer that's attached to a sturdy anchor point, begin the drill by walking your feet forward and leaning back until you have the proper amount of resistance. You then execute a rowing movement by pinching your shoulder blades down and together. If you need to make the drill a little more difficult, simply walk your legs forward a little bit more. Just make sure that you really focus on driving the elbows back past the torso and working the upper back. Besides a TRX row, if you don't have access to one of those, you can also use a band row. Here I'm using a medium tension resistance band, standing back from a sturdy anchor point, and once again the motion is pinching the shoulder blades down and back. We're really focused here on trying to build up the back of the shoulder joint and increase upper back strength. In keeping with that theme, our next drill is a stability ball reverse fly. Now these can also be done on a bench. What you're going to do here is use light dumbbells as you work the weights up in a wide arc, making sure to keep the elbow soft and once again pinching the shoulder blades together to lead the movement and not just thrusting the hands in the air. Drills such as these are really going to help you to develop upper back strength and just create more integrity in that shoulder joint to help protect from injury. Our final drill is called the Palloff press. For these, attach a resistance band to a sturdy anchoring point and then stand aside it as you square your shoulders and hips. With your hands positioned directly in front of your chest, press the band away from you, not allowing your body to rotate at all. Pause for a split second before coming back into the chest.